EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has joined European leaders and diplomats to condemn Israel for its plans to open up construction tenders for illegal settlement projects in the occupied West Bank. The E1 plan was greenlit by Prime Minister Netanyahu's government last year. It would further separate the Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem from the West Bank. For more on the story, we have France 24's Matthew-Mary Caruchet joining us in the studio. So Matthew-Mary, what are the main complaints of the former diplomats?
Well, today, 102 former diplomats from the UK and France sent a letter basically saying that they were upset with the way that French and UK governments have been treating Israel. In their words, they believe that there's an ethnic cleansing going on in the Palestinian territories, as evidenced by the continued shelling of the Gaza Strip, the rampant settler violence in the West Bank, and the shrinking of Palestinian lands. And they say that the Israeli army and police are complicit. And they are frustrated that the UK and France have only offered condemnations. There's no real consequences put forward for Israel, other than reputational decay. And the signatories say that this strategy is not working. And here's what one of them told France 24 today.
Not listening to their friends. The Israeli government is not listening to its friends. In order to persuade the electorate that there is a better way, there also have to be consequences for the lawless behavior of this Israeli government, which is supporting ethnic cleansing and is withholding aid into Gaza.
Now, France and the UK recognized Palestine as a state in 2025. And these former diplomats say that that recognition needs to be translated into concrete matters. And they put forth 7 specific penalties on Israel that they want France and the UK to impose. These are to uphold the decisions of the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court, to suspend EU and UK economic agreements with Israel, to suspend arm transfers and military cooperation, to insist on humanitarian, journalistic, and diplomatic access to Gaza, to ban all trade with settlements, to warn potential bidders for settlement construction that their interests with the UK and France will suffer, and to make it an offense for British and French citizens to buy property on stolen Palestinian land. Now, in recent years, the UK, France, and the EU have enacted sanctions towards Israel, but these are only individual politicians, right-wing organizations, or settlers, never towards Israel as a whole. And in fact, no Western country has ever sanctioned Israel as a whole. The UK and France and Canada did threaten sanctions in May 2025 over the blockade of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, but those never materialized. And then the EU also considered ending its association agreement, but backed down 2 months later.
Now, is there something to be said about the timing of this? Why is this happening now?
Well, as you pointed out, the condemnation of EU leader Ursula von der Leyen just now, 2 days ago, UK and France sent their other letter saying that they were also upset with the E1 settlement project. Now, this project, would separate East Jerusalem from the rest of the West Bank. And unless there's a new route created, there would be no way for Palestinians from the north or south of the West Bank to go to see each other. Now, some Israeli leaders have been outspoken that this project is intended to destroy a future two-state solution. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed with that rationale, saying that there will be no Palestinian state. Indeed, his government has drastically increased and accelerated the approval of settlements in the West Bank. And in their condemnation 2 days ago, the UK, France, and other Western countries said that proposed housing developments in the E1 project are clearly against international law and, quote, will take Israel further from peace and undermine its international standing. Now, to the 102 former diplomats that sent the letter today, this condemnation represents the problem with Western diplomacy. Despite all these tough words, there is no specific repercussions put forward for Israel for its actions.
All right, so Matthew-Mary, thank you very much indeed for that.